Christmas is coming up soon and your child might be asking for an e-bike or an electronic bike. The definition of an electronic bike is a bicycle with electric motor that assists the rider when pedaling. The motor is powered by a rechargeable battery mounted on the bike. To qualify as an e-bike, the motor must help the rider rather than propel on its own. Its features include a handlebar for steering, working pedals with 2 or 3 wheels. But how safe is it? Or even better, how young is too young to ride these things? Or is it? And the question is it safe for young kids to use? It's very popular these days. Here's Lisa Guerrero.
E-bikes are incredibly popular. TikTok is filled with videos of youngsters showing off. But is it safe for kids this young to be riding them? Watch as this boy crashes into a fence. Fortunately, he was able to walk away. There are other examples of kids on e-bikes wiping out.
I find them to be little motorcycles.
But a recent death in Encinitas, California may have some parents wondering how young is too young to ride these e-bikes.
The doctor came in and said, I wish I had better news.
Claire Champlain's son, Brody, lost his life in a tragic e-bike accident last June when he collided with a car.
Didn't find he was at the right age yet. I didn't think he was old enough to understand the rules of the road.
The key is the operators. I see young people and old people operating in very unsafe ways.
Tony Krantz is the mayor of Encinitas. He doesn't see the problem going away.
The big challenge that we've had since I've been serving on the council for the last 11 years is trying to create some space for safe cycling.
It's marketed to children. It's like just dangling candy in front of them. Oh, here, you can go anywhere you want, 20 miles an hour. You don't have to have your parents drive you.
Some e-bikes, like the Super 73 K1D, as in kid, are marketed for kids as young as age 4.
This bike is for 4 to 8 years old like me.
The bike is the brainchild of manufacturer Legrand Cruise.
You have 5 kids, right?
Yeah.
So would you let your 5 kids at 4 years old ride one of those?
I have no problem with my kids learning how to operate one of these safely in the right environment. Would I be okay on a public road? Of course not.
I'm 7.
7-year-old John Stock loves cruising on his e-bike.
John's been riding 2-wheel bikes since he was maybe 18 months old.
I have to pull throttle.
John says one of the coolest things about it is this special feature.
Easy.
In race mode, it tops out at 15 miles an hour. His dad, Jonathan, told us he was impressed at how quickly John learned the rules of the road.
After he got all those basics down, after he understood, hey, I've got to move over to the right when there's traffic. Hey, I got to stop when there's a stop sign. I taught John how to put the bike in this race mode because he earned it. So me teaching him how to do that was sort of like a signifying step.
E-bikes are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And so the younger that we can get kids trained and essentially respecting the technology, ultimately we're going to create much safer riders.
Fingers crossed other youngsters won't suffer mishaps like this.
The K1D is not designed for public roads or sidewalks. The manual says only ride them on paved paths under adult supervision.
Paved paths under adult supervision. It's basic common sense. I mean, I've seen engines on these bikes. It's not made for sidewalks. A sidewalk is made for people to walk on. You want to take an e-bike on the road? Knock your lights out. But it's a safety concern about this. I mean, if you look at the rules and regulations of this, it will tell you. Federal speed limit for e-bikes is 20 miles per hour or less. These bikes regulate signaling bicycles are permitted on roads with speed limits of 30 miles per hour or less, including bike lanes. They are also allowed to carry passengers. Riders are usually can use on their top speed 25 miles per hour. A150 can not use a Class E3 electric bike unless they are a passenger. And the state of Georgia, back in February, passed a law. Electric bikes are allowed to ride on roadway, but they must be as far as the ride are practical, just like regular bikes. Additionally, e-bikes are allowed on the marked bike paths along local ordinances must be obeyed, including any local ordinances specifically restricting e-bike usage. In the state of Georgia, an individual does not need any special type of driver's license to operate an e-bike. But that's in Georgia. I mean, that's all in the state of Georgia. But most other state laws about e-bikes are, I don't know how to correctly say the word, but common sense would say learn the rules of the road. Learn the rules of the road, and maybe then you'll learn how to ride an e-bike on the sidewalk or on the road. Just make sure it's a bike path. That way everyone can have enough room to walk on the sidewalk and even enough room to ride your bike. I'm not thinking about getting an e-bike for cruises, but if I do, I'll show you how to use it once I learn how to use the road safely. Still ahead, these celebrities are coming forward to tell what happened of Scientology. Is it a cult or just a church? Tom Jones with a year-long investigation. When we come back, other laws all about these e-bikes. What states allow you to ride an e-bike without a license, and what other states forbid you from riding e-bikes without a license. Stay with us. The state of Georgia says you don't need a driver's license to operate an e-bike. But what about other states for this year? Under U.S. Consumer Product Safety Act, e-bikes are defined as a low-speed electric bikes with fully operated express motor that operates less than 750. As of July 2023, the following 38 states have adopted 3 tire classification system: Alabama, Arizona, Texas. New York also follows a 3-tire class system, but it has a different speed limit for Class 3 e-bikes. It says that 1 million or more of these residing in them. Other states like Alaska, Hawaii, Kentucky, Massachusetts, Montana, they have their own laws about these e-bikes. Let's go to Texas. The states that allow 3-tire classes limited 20 miles per hour and 28 are Class 1/2 and 3 respectively. Other states have their own speed limits. New York, Portland, and in all the other states, minimum 14 years. There's Alaska, Arkansas, that's a Class 3. 15 years is for all these other states. 16 years is probably for the rest of these states. But there is probably no laws in Texas. There is. You are allowed to ride a Class 1 or Class 2 e-bike if you can ride a bike and are aware of the regulations that control its use. Nonetheless, Class 3 e-bikes riders must be at least 16 years old because they have a top speed of 25 miles per hour. Anyone under 15 cannot use a Class 3 electric bike unless they are a passenger. Should you wear a helmet when you ride these bikes in Texas? Yes, you should. A helmet is the greatest safety issue. You should fall on your head and hurt yourself. If you know how to ride a bicycle, you know how to ride an e-bike. Is it illegal to ride an electronic bike on a bike trail in the state of Texas? E-bikes are recently prohibited from being used on non-motorized trails in Texas, but unless the trail is considered off limits to e-bikes, the proposed legislation would permit electric bikes on all trails. Class 3 e-bikes are not considered street legal in Texas. They cannot ride on sidewalks, bike lanes, or public transportation. And these e-bikes are very expensive. So when you're looking at these, so if you're gonna get your child an e-bike, you need to look up your state law. And if you're gonna be thinking about getting your child an e-bike for Christmas, and you want to know about all the laws that are being put in place by your state about the e-bikes, you need to have prior knowledge or do the research beforehand to know what you're doing. That way, you'll know what type of bike you can use when your child wants to ride on the sidewalk or on the bike trail. Other states like these, laws by state. Connecticut. Class 2. Texas. Go back to Texas right here. Texas has their own e-bike laws. Bicycle equipment motor. You must be 15 or older. This must be like ATVs. People riding ATVs on the road, and they made it federal, and they made it a law to prohibit all these ATVs or 4-wheelers to be on the road when it should be out on the dirt, not on the public road. That's illegal. It's also illegal to ride in the back of the trailer, the back of the RV while it's being ridden on. That's illegal. In one case, let me show you a clip. Let me show you.
What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Hey there, little brothers. Big brother Jeffrey here. So, as everyone knows, or doesn't know, my account got hacked this week. And I'm to film.
Take a look.
Alright, great. Jesse's eventually gonna come out to the trailer, and I'm gonna take this rope, and I'm gonna run out of the trailer, and I'm gonna.
I know I'm Larry guy here. You're being real sneaky, but you let me out.
No, I'm gonna take you home.
Okay.
It's all gonna be okay.
Thank you, brother.
So Jesse, isn't this what you always wanted? To come home?
Not even a moment that I've had to think about it. Jeffrey's around here. I ain't up.
Alright, I'll go get the truck, okay? What?
What the fuck did you say?
I brought the truck. It's parked around on the other street.
You brought that truck here?
Yeah. What, you think I was kidding? Okay. He's still trying to get out.
Wow. Skip ahead here.
Alright, time to try. The Milky Bar kid is strong and tough. And only the best is good enough. The milkiest milk, the whitest bar. Nestle's Milky Bar. God, this is a fucking pain in the ass. Alright, better go out and see how far out I am. And we're all set for the main voyage here. Got the heat tool set up, go to the sway bars. Oh yeah, I think we're gonna be pretty good. Just hope this Dickie highway over here, everything goes over. Oh. Yeah, well, who's the one locked in a trailer?
Yeah, because you're breaking the law.
Well, you broke the law and you hacked into my account. Probably. Or whoever you had to do it. And here we go. Hey there, little brothers. Big brother Jeffrey here. With the Juggernuggets in the back. Yeah, I don't think he's doing so happy. So, I don't think he's doing so hot. And he's probably not happy is what I meant to say.
So that's illegal. That right there, the back of the trailer, all passengers are prohibited from riding the back of the trailer or RV. That is illegal, and that could be served by jail if you are caught. Common sense would say, don't ever do that. That is illegal and unsafe. Well, you ever heard of Scientology? If you watch the David Miscavige interview from Nightline, you'll know. But I'm not going to play that interview. We are going to be hearing from celebrities, and we're going to be hearing from people, former members, who have been abused, tied, and starved to death. Coming up, a 1-year Scientology investigation by Tom Gill, and one more needs to be said about Scientology. Stay with us. Cults. No organization likes the word cult. No organization, no program likes to be called a cult. The definition of a cult best describes a small group of people who are excessively devoted to a figure, object, or belief system, typically led by a charismatic and self-appointed leader who controls its members. Cult members, they're required to devotion, charismatic leader, share a belief, and gain special solutions to be gained only by following the leader's rules. Tonight, a story about whether the Church of Scientology is a cult or just a regular church. You're going to be hearing from celebrities, and you also meet a woman who says she was abused. She was abused years ago at a POV camp. And you also meet someone who's the co-leader of Scientology. No, it's not David Miscavige, but someone who knows David Miscavige. A 1-year investigation determined what in the world was going on in Scientology. You will also hear audio tapes, and you will also see a machine that's never seen before. Will we get down and know the truth about the Church of Scientology? Through thick and thin. Here's Tom Gill.
Buried deep in these New Mexico hills, in steel-lined tunnels, said to be able to survive a nuclear blast, is what Scientology considers the future of mankind. Seen here for the first time, thousands of metal records stored in heat-resistant titanium boxes and playable on a solar-powered turntable, all containing the beliefs of Scientology's founder, L. Ron Hubbard.
And man can achieve these goals today of freedom for himself and his people through Scientology.
Clearly, Scientology believes it's here to stay.
Never before have we embarked on such massive expansion, and yet it will soon be reality. And we will be moving into the new millennium with authority.
Scientology is on the march. It has powerful political friends and a group of glittering celebrities. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, Lisa Marie Presley, Kirstie Alley, and Jenna Elfman. These celebrities have become Scientology's best salespeople.
What's great about Scientology is there's you, right? And you're always you. But as you go through life, you know, you have the betrayals and the losses and the things, they start clouding up. And what Scientology does is helps take away all that stuff so that you can just be you.
Superstar John Travolta credits the church with his success in films like Pulp Fiction. He joined the church around the time he made his first television appearance in Welcome Back, Kotter. He and actress Kirstie Alley agreed to sit down with 2020 for a rare interview about their religion. Why did you turn to Scientology? Why have you chosen Scientology?
I was 21 when I first heard about it, and someone introduced it to me, and they were so certain and happy, and I wasn't used to people being certain and happy. I was used to people being insecure and unhappy. I took a course, and my life has never been the same.
Years before Kirstie Alley joined the cast of Cheers, she was a struggling actress, hooked on drugs.
I didn't want to do drugs anymore, but I didn't want to live life without doing drugs. And the life was just being squelched out of me. It was a slow death. I had one auditing session in Scientology, and I never did drugs again or had the urge to do drugs again.
Is there any stigma to it professionally for you?
I think it's been, you know, if not only an asset, but most of the reason I'm still here.
But there is another side to the Scientology story. Front page reports of the mysterious death of a Scientologist in Florida. Allegations of virtual prison camps.
What's so secret with this organization? What's so secret with this area? What happened here?
And charges by former members of mistreatment and abuse.
All you know is that the things you hope for and the group that you invested your life in is a fraud and a dangerous, horrifying, terrifying fraud, a nightmare.
Again and again, while reporting this story, we were confronted by Scientology's split personality. On one hand, we were introduced to numbers of devoted followers who told us the church had turned their lives around. On the other hand, we met many former members who described Scientology as a dangerous and deeply paranoid organization. The root of this contradiction, many told us, lies in the peculiar personality of Scientology's founder, L. Ron Hubbard.
Do you ever think that you might be quite mad? Oh, yes. The one man in the world who never believes he's mad is a madman.
L. Ron Hubbard has been described by his supporters as a genius, by his critics as a madman. If I took one word to describe L. Ron Hubbard, it would be friend.
Mike Render is one of Scientology's top leaders.
Every few thousand years, a man comes along who is so extraordinary that he changes the course of history. And L. Ron Hubbard is one of those men.
Where did this prophet of Scientology come from? L. Ron Hubbard was a modestly successful Pulp Fiction writer in the 1930s and 40s. In a letter to his wife, he predicted, "I will smash my name into history so violently, it will take a legendary form." In 1950, at age 39, he published a book that would make him famous, Dianetics, the Modern Science of Mental Health. In it, he claimed to have found nothing less than the secret to the human mind.
There was a chasm between this existence, where we are now, and a higher plateau of existence.
Hubbard promised that he could make a person into a kind of Superman, raise IQs, cure sicknesses, and enable people to leave their bodies and travel through time and space. Tens of thousands of Hubbard's followers take this as the gospel truth.
What if we have found something that does work? Just that. What if that's true? Isn't that worth a look?
Courtney Weirn joined the church at age 14. Today, he's a scriptwriter in Los Angeles. He credits Scientology with his success.
Okay, that's kind of the payoff that we wanted to get at the end. This is real. It works. The effect that it's going to have in a broad way on everything in your life. You know, you can't calculate the worth of that.
What Weirn and others say has transformed their lives is the mysterious practice Scientologists call auditing. At the center of an auditing session is a device called an e-meter. It sends a small electrical current through a person's body,
registering minute physical changes in the skin. Scientologists believe it can also literally measure thoughts.
Any reason not to begin session?
None at all. The church would not allow 2020 to videotape auditing, but for the first time they released these pictures of what they say is an actual auditing session.
Locate an incident when you took the emotion of sorrow.
I believe it was 1949.
According to Hubbard, the mind is an archive of physical and emotional traumas. During auditing, a person is asked to re-experience these painful events, sometimes from previous lives, hundreds or even thousands of years ago.
Is there an earlier incident when you took the emotion of sorrow?
1814.
What happened?
I was just walking out across this battlefield after the firing had ceased. They're just dead and mutilated bodies.
Once relived, Scientologists believe the painful memory is erased and replaced by understanding and a blissful feeling of relief.
Thank you very much. Your needle is floating.
Thank you.
I know the way I feel when I come out of a session. I feel happy and outgoing and exuberant. That's how it makes me feel because I solved something.
Auditing is arranged in a progression of levels that Hubbard called the bridge to total freedom. The first significant goal on the bridge, Hubbard told his followers, is the state of clear.
Hi, everybody.
Once this goal is reached, Scientologists declare themselves problem-free.
That I've never, ever felt so wonderful. I've never been so aware, and that nothing is going to hold me back.
But some critics have called auditing a money-making scheme.
As soon as your auditing comes out, you go in session.
Sessions start at less than $100 an hour, but could rise steeply to more than $600 an hour. To reach the state of clear can cost tens of thousands.
If it wasn't worth it to me, I wouldn't be paying for it. If it was 10 times the amount that I had to pay for it, I'd find the money to do it. And if it was 100 times more, then I'd pay that too.
In fact, the most dedicated Scientologist will spend tens of thousands more to follow Hubbard's bridge to its mysterious upper levels. This is where Hubbard reveals his final secret. Scientologists are now told only one thing stands between them and absolute spiritual freedom. It involves an intergalactic incident that took place 75 million years ago. Only through more auditing, Hubbard says, can they be liberated at last. The church considers these secret levels sacred. We agree not to divulge their precise contents in return for access to the church and its members.
Please don't let them take that stuff out.
This is what happened when former church member Dennis Ehrlich posted the secret levels on the internet back in 1995. Armed with a court order obtained under copyright laws, Scientology officials staged a surprise raid on Ehrlich's home. Accompanied by local police, church officials carted away computers, disk drives, and Ehrlich says personal files.
I have not yet seen anything, and I haven't got an inventory of anything.
The idea that any court would open up my house to my enemies in that manner, to go through my personal belongings in that way for 7 hours, and it was just beyond belief.
Before becoming a leading church critic, Dennis Ehrlich was a member of its elite priesthood, the so-called Sea Organization. Today's Sea Org members dress in naval-style uniforms, live and eat communally, and sign billion-year contracts with the organization to achieve a goal they describe as freeing the planet. The Sea Organization is named for a group of zealous Scientologists who took to the seas with L. Ron Hubbard aboard a ship he named the Apollo. The year was 1967. Scientology was under investigation from Africa to the United States. In Australia, it was outlawed as a threat to the community, medically, morally, and socially. With nowhere else to go, Hubbard began to wander the Mediterranean, like Moses in the desert, searching for a promised land for Scientology.
I became willing to follow him through hell and high water.
A young nurse named Hannah Whitfield was one of Hubbard's original Sea Org members. But instead of a magnanimous leader, Whitfield says,
she found in Hubbard a man increasingly prone to violent fits of temper.
He would whine and cry out and express outrage at this or that or the other. And that would go on for days.
According to Whitfield and others, Hubbard ordered rule breakers confined to the ship's chain locker for days at a time, including once a 4-year-old boy. On another occasion, witnesses say, Hubbard ordered wayward crew members to be shoved overboard while the Apollo was docked in port. A Scientology magazine at the time depicted the ceremony.
And those who were wailing or prostrate with fear were just grabbed and shoved over the ship into the harbor.
There was a little ceremony that grew up that was like a joke, like a fun thing. Okay, I commit my sins to the deep and I arise a better man. People would jump off the side.
Mike Render, now a senior church official, joined the Sea Organization when he was just a teenager. He remembers life aboard the Apollo very differently.
Did you ever see him punish anyone, for example, by putting them in solitary confinement in the chain locker? No, never. So how do you now prove that never took place? All I can do is tell you, no, it didn't happen. You were caught in a huge contradiction then. A man you admired, a man you had serious doubts about.
It was a very unique trap. As the door was closing behind me, I didn't know it was a trap. A small percentage of people left. The rest of us stayed.
The rest stayed, and they probably stayed. When we come back, you're going to hear more from this woman as she tells of a horrific story about abuse at Scientology. Stay with us.
Owned rehabilitation camps where the Church of Scientology sends those who stray.
I was locked in this room in the dark for however long it was.
Accusations of being held captive, mistreated, interrogated for disloyalty to the Church. When 2020 Sunday continues.
Stay tuned. Returning now to our story. Scientology is probably nothing more than a cult, or probably a religious thing, depending on how you look at it. So far, what you've heard is from one person in that report who said that she's being abused. She was being abused at a POW camp you're about to see. But there's probably more to this. So we go back to 1978 to when Scientology was being investigated. The question could be, was there more to meet CI? You're about to hear more from the story as Tom Jarrell continues in Florida. So once again, here's Tom Jarrell.
Wandering the seas for more than 5 years, Hubbard finally came ashore here in the sleepy retirement town of Clearwater, Florida. His goal was to establish an international mecca for Scientology. But according to many insiders, Hubbard was growing more and more vindictive toward those who stood in his way. He created what he called the Rehabilitation Project Force.
The people who are assigned to this camp are the worst of the worst. They're criminals in Scientology.
Hannah Whitfield says the RPF was, in effect, a work camp to rehabilitate Sea Org members accused of insubordination. In May 1978, she says, it was her turn.
I had two big men on either side of me who pretty much manhandled me into this room with no windows, and there was just a mattress on the floor. And I was locked in this room in the dark for however long it was.
Whitfield says that while she was in the RPF, she lived in the garage of the church-owned Fort Harrison Hotel, ate scraps, and worked at hard labor up to 12 hours a day.
What was your crime to have been put into this harsh program to begin with?
My crime was, in a Scientology sense, a very serious one. I was accused of having negative thoughts about Mr. Hubbard.
The Rehabilitation Project Force is a part within the Sea Organization where people who have, been goofing up, they can go rehabilitate themselves.
After our interview, the church apparently launched a letter-writing campaign. Renda sent us scores of letters from current and former Sea Org members, all addressed to ABC, and all extolling the benefits of the RPF. While on the RPF, I learned how to work hard and be a productive person. I came out of it extroverted, ethical, and more willing to confront life. What I handled was getting to the root of why I was so bad in my transgressions against others.
But some former members we talked to described their experience as physically and psychologically punishing, and anything but voluntary.
I was certainly completely at their mercy.
Dennis Ehrlich claims that for one 10-day period, he was actually put under lock and key in the boiler room of the Fort Harrison Hotel.
In the middle of one of the rooms was a chicken wire enclosure with a door that had a lock on it, and I was placed in there, and the lock was put on the door.
At the time, Vaughn and Stacy Young were high-level public relations officials in the church.
At 4 in the morning, one night, Vaughn and I were asleep, and there was a knock on the door, and 2 security guards were there, and they took me away and to the prison camp.
Stacy Young says she was assigned to the RPF for disobeying an order to interrogate a fellow staff member. For part of the time, Young says she was in a room on the 7th floor of the Los Angeles church. Her husband admits he stood by and did nothing to try to get her out.
You're being challenged that, what are you? Are you disloyal? Do you love your wife more than freedom for the planet? You're going to let people suffer? All this crap is dumped on you. What are you supposed to say?
I didn't see Vaughn for several months. I didn't hear from him. I didn't have any correspondence with him whatsoever. He did nothing to try and rescue me. I felt that my husband should have rescued me.
I didn't take her out. I look back at that. I should have just picked her up. I should have just picked her up, and I should have just said, if anybody touches me, you're dead.
Even after Stacy's release from the RPF, the Youngs remained loyal. But in 1988, Vaughn Young says, the church turned on him too, and he began his own 13-month stint in the RPF.
You go through interrogations, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, month after month, breaking you down, breaking you down, breaking you down.
Travel between buildings is accompanied by a security guard. An RPF member may not speak unless spoken to. If dismissed, must sign a confession of his crimes. These are acceptable, I take it. If a priest or a monk or a nun was to leave one of those religious orders and come out and say, well, I had to sleep on straw and I lived in a cell and I couldn't talk to anybody and I had to be celibate, and people would go, but you walked in there knowing that and you were a part of it, so fine that you leave. Don't complain about it.
A year after Vaughn's release from the RPF, the Youngs say they had had enough. They threw some clothes in the back of their car and fled.
Everett's policy was, as long as you're with us, we'll leave you alone. But if you speak out against us, we're going to dog you and ruin you and destroy you. And that's exactly what they keep trying to do.
The church denies having mistreated the Youngs. They provided 2020 with these documents, in which both of the Youngs write fondly of their experience in the RPF. Vaughn Young says they were coerced.
They want it in your own handwriting. So that when your handwriting is done, it says, see, we have it in his handwriting. He confessed to this. He did this.
Vaughn Young says he was forced to sign a statement he did not believe in, and it was a prerequisite to get out of what he wanted to get away from. Well, what do you want to believe? Do you want to believe what Vaughn Young wrote at the time and signed, or do you want to believe him now saying, well, I didn't mean to write that? Many of their stories, though, about RPF are corroborated in sworn court testimony by up to a dozen other people. Are they all lying? They sat in a room, they figured out what they were going to say, they wrote snippets, they passed them around, they made sure that they were consistent, and yes, they were paid for that.
Rinder provided 2020 with this court document, which shows that the Youngs, since 1993, have been paid some $50,000 as expert witnesses in civil suits against the church. But the Youngs, who have separated since our interview, vehemently deny that they are fabricating their stories. In fact, they point out, similar accounts have been credited by judges and juries in a number of court cases. In one example, former Sea Org member Lawrence Wollersheim won a multi-million-dollar judgment against the church. An appeals court judge wrote that while in the RPF, Wollersheim had been forced to undergo a strenuous regime that lasted 19 hours a day. When he tried to escape the RPF, the judge wrote, several Scientology members seized Wollersheim and held him captive.
They censor the phone calls. You're not allowed to speak to anyone who's critical. There was no way for anyone to reach me.
Scientology has projected a kinder, gentler, more understanding image in recent years. But critics insist that RPF camps continue to exist today. Sworn affidavits point to one at this site, a multi-acre spread near Palm Springs, which the church calls the Castile Canyon School.
What is the Castile Canyon School? It's a school for the children of SEAL members. We have seen sworn statements this also is an RPF camp. Is that true? There are RPF people there, yeah.
ABC asked Mike Render if we could take our cameras and go to the school to talk to those inside, but he refused.
With a helicopter.
Earlier, when German filmmaker Peter Reichelt and his crew set out to see what they could find, this is what happened.
You're blocking us. You are arresting us. You are not allowed to do that.
A mile from the school, the Germans' way was blocked by carloads of Scientologists. According to the German filmmakers, senior church official Ken Hoden detained them for more than 2 hours.
I'm giving you one last warning. Are you going to leave, yes or no? Fine! I'm placing you under citizen arrest right now.
What's so secret with this organization? What's so secret with this area? What happened here?
What is all the secrecy about? What else goes on behind the walls of church compound? Tom Gerald will have more in a moment.
Fight it.
Coming up next, more about Scientology and who may be right or who may be wrong. Tom Gerald with more on the investigation. Stay with us. Returning to our story, after L. Ron Hubbard died, more leaders of the Church of Scientology went to the IRS and sued them for what had happened. So what could be going on here with the IRS? Once again, here's Tom Gerald.
October 1993. You're watching scenes of an extraordinary event. More than 10,000 Scientologists gather at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles for what's promised to be the most significant announcement in Scientology's history.
On October the 1st, 1993, the IRS issued letters recognizing Scientology, and every one of its organizations as fully tax-exempt.
The war with the IRS was over, and Scientology had won. The IRS decision was a financial boon for a group that already claimed to be worth in excess of $1 billion. With the tax advantages enjoyed by the other mainstream religions, Scientology has gone on an international expansion. They own valuable properties around the world and claim a membership of 8 million, though others outside the church put the number as low as 150,000. Their religious practices are unconventional. No worship services take place inside the buildings they call churches. In fact, some resemble resorts more than places of worship. In Los Angeles, this church contains a first-class restaurant, a private theater, and saunas. Scientologists stay in luxury hotel rooms upstairs while attending auditing and other courses downstairs.
Hello.
The so-called Celebrity Center is run by Tom Davis. He's the son of actress Ann Archer, herself a devoted Scientologist for some 20 years. Davis is the face of the new church.
My involvement in Scientology is for my life. This is my life's devotion.
Davis dropped out of Columbia University as a freshman to join the Sea organization, where he met his Belgian wife, Nadine.
For us, it's a crusade. We're like crusaders. We're like knights in knighthood. You know, we're like and it's fun. I mean, it's a fun activity to set men free.
The Davises, who work an average of 15 hours a day for around $50 a week, spend much of their time disseminating L. Ron Hubbard's teachings. On this day, at a literacy project in the inner city neighborhood of Compton.
I made a decision to forward the aims of Scientology. I actually compared it a little bit like Mother Teresa, you know, who just kind of gives her life
to the dedication of setting, helping people, helping the poor and the weak.
Scientologists believe this, and not scandal, is the real essence of their religion.
You can look at the origins of almost every religion, and the first so many years they're attacked. You take a look at every program we've instilled in either local communities, prisons, drug rehabs. I mean, our statistics are through the roof.
But critics say the church may never be able to gain the mainstream acceptance it seeks as long as it remains tethered to the words and ideas of its controversial founder. L. Ron Hubbard left Scientology not only his religious writings, but a series of controversial directives that appear to advocate threats, intimidation, and even attacks against those he regarded as enemies.
Some of Hubbard's writings don't ever defend, always attack. The purpose of the lawsuit is to harass and discourage rather than win. A church enemy may be tricked, sued, or lied to, or destroyed.
They can send private investigators out to your home or to your place of work, talk to your neighbors. They will illicitly try and obtain copies of your phone bills or credit rating. They will try and create problems for you at your place of employment. They will try and sue you. They'll do everything they can try and do to stop you or to silence you.
How do you know?
I know because that's what I used to do.
Frank Oliver runs a digital graphics firm in Miami. But for 4 years, he says, he was a member of the church's internal security apparatus.
I remember having to make the phone calls to all the phone numbers on someone's phone bill to find out where they had called. These were enemies of the church. You shut them down. You find out what you can about them. You find their weak spot and you expose it. You make it so that they cannot survive or exist. You literally destroy them.
Hannah Whitfield says that since she became a paid consultant to families trying to get loved ones to leave Scientology, she's been the target of intense harassment.
We've had people demonstrate outside our home. We've had leaflets with terrible accusations in them, distributed around our neighborhood, that I'm a murderer, that we're deprogrammers, we torture people, we kidnap them. None of this is true, but it's beside the point.
I think that when we were chasing around Hannah Whitfield, that she was very intimidated by this, very disturbed by it.
Frank Oliver says he spent 3 days on a stakeout of the Whitfields in Los Angeles.
We followed this woman out of her house, we chased her around, we followed her to the airport.
Do you know Frank Oliver? No, I don't know Frank Oliver. He's told us that while working for the church, he personally went through phone records of church people, critics, without their knowledge. He searched their garbage. He followed them. Well, if Frank Oliver claims that, then Frank Oliver was operating completely outside of the directives and policies of the church, and that's probably why he left.
But Frank Oliver says that he left the church in 1992 after 6 years for very different reasons.
The lies just permeated everything. At that point, it was just lies upon lies upon lies. They might feel I betrayed them, but the truth is they betrayed me.
Oliver says what finally drove him out of Scientology was the church's request that he participate in a campaign to bring down one of the church's most bitter enemies, the Cult Awareness Network. CAN issued warnings about Scientology and other groups, calling them dangerous cults. Beginning in 1991, CAN faced a barrage of more than 50 lawsuits brought by Scientologists.
Did Scientology, through a large number of lawsuits, set out to destroy the Cult Awareness Network as an organization? No. There were a number of Scientologists who decided to join the Cult Awareness Network to bring some balance to the information that they were providing to people. They were denied membership.
The Scientologists sued. Nearly all of them were represented by an attorney named Kendrick Moxon, also a Scientologist. Eventually, CAN was forced into bankruptcy, and another Scientologist bought up its name and telephone numbers.
Good afternoon, Cult Awareness Network.
Today, when you call the Cult Awareness Network, a Scientologist answers the phone. CAN is not the only outside institution that has taken on the church only to face its wrath. In 1991, Time magazine published this cover story written by Richard Behar, which remains one of the most scathing pieces ever published about Scientology. In the aftermath, the church brought a $415 million libel suit, and according to Behar, dispatched as many as 10 private investigators to follow him, contact his family and friends, and illegally obtain his credit report.
It's been a chilling effect for the media. I know that when reporters and media companies consider writing about this subject, they're often afraid to do it in an in-depth way.
Scientology's lawsuit against Time was dismissed. While the church denies most of Behar's allegations, they do not deny investigating him.
There were certainly investigators looking into what was it that motivated his campaign.
Were the investigators authorized to trail him, to phone him, to spread literature in the building where he worked, to dig through his garbage, and that type of things?
The investigators were authorized to do whatever was within the law to investigate and find the motives behind Richard Behar.
But no amount of effort by the church has been able to slow a torrent of sensational news stories about the recent mysterious death of a young Scientologist. She spent the last 17 days of her life here at the Fort Harrison Hotel, and once again the church's strict adherence to Hubbard's teachings may have played into the hands of the church's harshest critics.
Lisa McPherson was a vibrant and devout Scientologist for 18 years. In the last year of her life, she turned over nearly $60,000 of her income to the church. But in 1996, friends say, McPherson began to display odd behavior. On November 11th, after a minor traffic accident in Clearwater, Florida, she stripped off her clothes and began to walk naked down the street. McPherson was taken to a local hospital for a psychiatric exam, but she refused treatment. In this, she was following the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard, who despised psychiatrists and believed he knew best how to treat mental illness. Hours later, she was released to a group of Scientologists who had come for her. In the final weeks of her life, while she lived in a room in the church-owned Fort Harrison Hotel, McPherson's Scientologist caretakers took detailed handwritten notes, which describe her mental and physical decline. November 19th. If she starts talking, she talks and talks. Then she stares at a spot. November 22nd. She refused to eat and spit out everything she took. Her breath was foul. She went violent and hit me a few times, telling me in a rage she was to kill me. I called in the guard.
She's spitting, she's yelling, she's screaming, and they're restraining her.
Ken Dandar is representing the McPherson family in a lawsuit against the church.
The notes show she was so weak from malnutrition and dehydration that she couldn't even walk anymore.
Those people loved Lisa McPherson. Those people did everything that they possibly could to assist her when she needed help. She came to them for assistance and they provided it.
Rinder points out that some of the notes seem to reflect a genuine concern on the part of McPherson's Scientology caretakers. December 2nd. She is resting now. She originated that she knows we are trying to help her, although she doesn't know our names. 3 days later, Scientologists drove McPherson to a hospital 45 minutes away to see a Scientologist physician, bypassing 4 closer hospitals. She was dead on arrival. An autopsy revealed she was covered in bruises and insect bites, and at 5 foot 11 inches, weighed only 108 pounds. The medical examiner concluded her death at age 34 had been caused by prolonged dehydration, but experts retained by the church say her death was purely accidental.
She died, unfortunately, of a pulmonary embolism, something that is both sudden, unpredictable, and in many cases is untreatable.
Why, when it appeared she was physically deteriorating, wasn't she taken to a hospital?
I don't know what happened, Tom. I wasn't there. I just know what it was that she died of, and I know what a pulmonary embolism is.
And do you know the church had no complicity in her death?
Sure. Sure.
All they had to do was take her to the local emergency room, where all the Scientologists go, but they chose to keep her inside the hotel and watch her die. Is that an accident? That's not an accident. That's intentional.
Last month in Florida, criminal charges were brought against the Church of Scientology in the death of Lisa McPherson. The church is accused of abusing or neglecting a disabled adult. It has pleaded not guilty. Tom Jarrell will be back in a moment.
Wow. You can almost feel what was going on there. Coming up, two Scientology members speak out and tell their sides of the story. Is it a cult or a religious group? Stay with us. There's something I would like not to see better than someone punching a kangaroo. It's not Spiral Break. This happened while voiceover happened. Just take a look.
Tell your punk ass about coming out here playing in the wild. You a house dog. Hey, my guy, get off my dog. Let me show you how we do it in the wild. I'm gonna put you to sleep. Hold on. What you trying to do, big fella? With your whole ass. Whoa, shit. Why would you rock my world like that? Scooby, what's wrong with your owner? You should have never squared up with your whole ass. Scooby, get your ass in this house. Oh, I'm out of here. Boy, hit me too hard. Bring your ass outside, big fella. So you punched my cousin kangaroo in the mouth, huh? I'm finna beat your whole ass. Bring your sweet ass outside. Ooh, shit, I wish you was out here right now. This kangaroo game, what's up? Come outside. Don't get scared now, guy. Come down. Let me show you what this right hand do since you want to swing on my guns. Whoa, shit, I'm finna hit you with a 5-piece. Bring your ass outside. Whoa. Come on to the wild with me. Whoa, shit, why don't you swing on my cousin? Come get these hands, guys. Hey, now you scared. You soft, boy. Whoa, shit. With your whole ass. Oh, that's your wife? Tell her come get this pipe. Stand your punk ass still. You want to sucker punch a kangaroo, then when I send my cousin over there, you scared to come outside. Stand still with your whole ass. Whoa, shit, when I get a hold of you, I'm going to punch you so hard in that little ass head. You fight like a pussy. Whoa, shit, yeah, bring your whole ass over here. Bitch. I'm finna make you spit your heart out your mouth. No, get your whole ass up. You like the sucker punch, don't you? Hey, Ralph. Back up, Ralph. This ain't got nothing to do with you. It's between me and Guy. Oh, so I gotta slap you up too, huh, big fella? I just said back up. It's between me and Guy. He like to smack niggas up in the woods, huh? Whoa, shit. You finna die. You keep running like a roach that don't want to be seen, big fella. Get your ass over here. I'm finna beat your ass for all the kangaroos in the woods. Whoa, shit. Let me go ahead and finish you off, big fella. Bring your... Bitch, I told you. Go to sleep. You finna die. No, let me go, rap. Let me go. Whoa.
Very funny. Well, now we're out of time to come up on Saturday. We're gonna conclude this Scientology story by introducing two members who tell their side of the story about Scientology. Is it religious or a cult? Here's a preview.
John Travolta and Kirstie Alley step up to defend their beliefs, claiming a handful of defectors are the source of Scientology's troubles.
If you divorce a woman, and she gives me her version of why she left you, how valid do you think it is?
When 2020 Sunday continues.
That's Give Me a Break for this Friday going to Saturday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Saturday night. For all of us here at YouTube and Give Me a Break, don't miss the conclusion to the Church of Scientology. Good night.